Let's start with water. How much does that... Well,
Joe.
A, it makes me angry, and B, it breaks my heart.
Something you said about who's going to do it next time. So we miss a generation, maybe the grandkids come through. Why would you? Everything we say about farming is negative. Doesn't rain, or there's fires. Now, if you want water, you hope it's there for $135 a megalitre, or some bloke up the road who leaves a tractor in the shed and grows nothing might just toss it to you for $800. There's nothing positive. Yet all the stuff we produce here sells like hotcakes in Asia and around the world. It should be what we hang our hat on still. Government's got to get their head around this. We've got to make farming great again. There you go. They've got to do something.
We can't wait for the ACCC either.
No, we
cannot wait for the ACCC. That is just a flick pass from the federal government. And I'm telling you what, forget about what the Bush thinks about the predicament here, where prices go from $135 to $800. The city folk won't cop the rip-off, and that's what it is. The whole system is geared to be contradictory, to be able to sit in your rocking chair on your front porch, not take your tractor out, and make money out of storing water. Give me a break. And
then when it doesn't rain, we all get the buy a bale, all the very good fundraising groups that come together and say, come on, let's support our farmers. Meanwhile, up the road, there's a bloke with a tractor in the shed doing nothing. Oh, wow.
Can't touch the water.
Red hot.
Rolling past his property.
It's red hot.
I mean, I don't want a steak grown in China, and I certainly don't want my milk coming from offshore either.
Yeah.
If we don't protect our industry, we won't have an industry. We're a small market.
Yeah, it's like wine, like vines that die. They're like stock. They're like cattle, sheep. They don't come back. You lose them completely, and people then just walk off the land and sell what they can.
Yeah.
All right, ICAC today, we saw the lawyer in there yesterday, contradictory evidence. Did he know, did he not know, did he bill, did he not bill, between Kayla Murnane and obviously Ian Robertson. Where's it all headed?
I think the nut has now been cracked with this. The first part of the nut was yesterday. One of either Kayla Murnane or Ian Robertson are telling porkies. One has to be wrong, has to be leading on the other, has thrown the other under the bus. So one of them is telling porkies. And if they can corroborate the one that's telling the truth, they've got that part of the nut cracked right open. Today, you had Tong from the association blow Wong to smithereens. Like, Ernest Wong walked out of that ICAC hearing today and he didn't have that smile that he's had on in the previous hearings. Right. He had that silly smile as he walked out. Yeah. He has been seen to be an alleged liar today, which means anything he has said prior to today cannot be believed. And that is associated with the $100,000.
It's interesting, isn't it? You know, all the rot comes back to New South Wales. We saw the last fortnight, I was talking to Jennifer Oriel about a poll in the Australian news poll about asylum seekers. Sure, 64% of Australians say they should go home if they're not genuine refugees in reference to the Tamil family, but 56% of Labor voters thought that same way. Yet Christina Keneally was pushing around Anthony Albanese over the last 2 weeks to get out there and campaign on this issue. You Butte, Luke, it's a winner. Get out there and campaign it. We'll come in spinner. She hasn't been that successful earlier than that. This is where Labor are so wrong-headed, and the brand is damaged.
Disconnect from the average Australian, the quiet Australian. So into the election, this is a climate change election. No, it's not. Cost of living, we all knew that, and that survey today proved it. I think 39% said, yeah, it's the cost of living. The next thing was at 20, might have even been climate change or something like that. But they continually get it wrong. If nothing, they're consistent. So they judge that wrong. They've judged the Billawheeler family, I think, wrong. I don't know how they rebuild. Now they're blooming internally. Butler came out yesterday. I think Shorten's come out this afternoon. So it's a long way back. And the gift that Scott Morrison had today was, of course, they went after Angus Taylor and he came back and he said, I'll take your Angus Taylor and I'll up you an ICAC, and just teed off on New South Wales Labor.
Correct. And I'll say it again, let's not forget Anthony Albanese was an assistant secretary in New South Wales at one time. This is where I think they're also wrong-headed on welfare, this welfare trial and drug testing of people on Newstart. Now, they only want to trial in 3 areas. And the plan is to put $10 million of rehab services in there so that if people have been tested for drugs positively and they don't come off them and they're tested again and they are found to still be using, they're off they go to rehab. Now, Isn't that a good thing?
Look, I think they've probably been sucked into a vortex here in that I don't think it was sold as well as it could have been in the early stages. It was only late yesterday when Dave Sharma got on Sky. It was only when Scott Morrison got on 7:30, and then others today have explained the steps required when you are found out to be on drugs and how much access you get to the $10 million pool of drug treatment.
Can I be honest though? That stuff, I looked at this policy and I've looked at it many times, I've written about it. That stuff was there from the get-go. There's just a coalition in the media who don't want to write about it.
Yeah.
They want to go after the government as being hard-hearted on the issue of drugs, and they don't want to back in the principle that we should be getting people off drugs, that we shouldn't be pill testing, that illegal drugs are illegal drugs.
Yeah,
right?
rolling out that debit card, the welfare debit card, is an absolute no-brainer based on the hard evidence we have from those trial areas. Without a doubt, to go against that is moronic in an electoral sense. And then you've got the drug testing. Look, given the way they've started to sell it from last night, I'm starting to come over to it. I wonder how it will play out. Where do you get tested? Do you get tested at home? Do you get tested in Centrelink? What about when you don't ever go to Centrelink because you've got a direct debit sorted out with the bank? I want to see the finer detail. But having said all of that, Labor need to be very careful because this could blow up in their face as well, as did the Tamil family from Queensland.
Yeah.
And look, we're talking about new entrants. So it's 5,000 people who currently don't get welfare. Now, if you go into a trial site and you try and get the dole, you don't like the fact that you're going to get drug tested?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, you don't get the dole. It's that simple.
Yeah. And surely it's about, if you do the same thing, we all know the expression, and you think you'd get something different, then that's madness. So let's try and help people. This is actually about, I see it as helping people. Mate, you've got a problem with drugs. We have determined that. Now, the life you're living now is probably as good as it gets. We can do something about it, and we're prepared. I think the cost is, what, 50 or 60 grand in treatment? That's a great thing.
And also, too,
a really good thing.
It was explained to me today, and I thought this was a real driver of the policy, in that it was explained that people simply don't go to any interviews for jobs when they're out off their face.
No.
And so therefore...
They feed their kids, and then the kids have poor outcomes, and they don't get through school, and then that cycle is returned.
Welfare cycle.
Correct. You have institutional, generational welfare inside families.
And addiction to drugs as well. They go hand in hand.
So you talk about compassion. This is about the whole issue with boats, stopping the boats. It's about the deaths at sea as much as it was about having a principle about border protection. Yes, we have a principle to say illegal drugs are illegal, but there's compassion in getting people off these drugs.
I don't want to sound spiritual about this, but that system could actually end up saving lives.
Yeah.
That's what it could do.
Yeah. That was very spiritual, by the way.
Yeah, it was. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't avoid it.
Look, we just talked about steak a little bit there before, but I want to put up something on the screen. Very interestingly, in Adelaide, I picked up this little bit of a story. Adelaide's Valley Butchers, they put a decal or a sign in their window saying that we have non-halal certified beef and meat and all manners of things, and the picture had an emu and a kangaroo on it. Well, they were taken before the advertising standards body, who said that the business is in breach. The signs, wording and images amounted to a depiction that was inciting hatred or contempt of a group of people based on their religious practices or Muslim origins. So just announcing that the meat in your butcher shop is non-halal, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Fancy that. It's almost stating the fact, isn't it? If it's not halal, this is not halal. Whoa. Quick, get them.
Well, that's an offence now in Australia.
I know. And they had a picture of, I think, was it an emu and something else underneath?
But there are people who actually don't like the whole halal stamp system because there have been at least 3 examples, as has been highly publicised, of misappropriation of money.
Yeah.
Now, not in the last year, but there have been examples of that in the early stages. And if the people have got sensibilities about that, and you're a small business person, why not up the marketing value of your product and say it's non-halal? It's a marketing ploy. Why would we get offended by stuff like that?
Exactly.
And who is offended?
Yeah.
Who is offended?
Who is offended? Exactly.
Well, our advertising standards, that's pretty strong words, inciting hatred and contempt.